Hello, Daphne here with another video for you. This is titled Worldwide Trips and Needlepoint. Those long trips. Every time I take a long trip, I'd always have my needlepoint with me as something to do. So over the years, I commemorated the trips I took, not only with my children, but with friends, with my husband, etc. So this first ornament is 1981 when my son Andrew and I went to Wimbledon. That was one absolutely heavenly, magical trip that I will never forget. We had an absolute blast together. This was my graduation present to him from high school. Next we have my daughter Wendy, who was an all-American swimmer, and I traveled all over the country watching her in swim meets. I can tell you one thing, I'm so glad my granddaughters play volleyball. Swimming was torturous to watch. The race would be over in 2 seconds flat, and then you'd have an hour or two wait in a hot, steamy gym before the next one. But I was there to support her along the way, so that was good. Here is the ornament that I made of a little tiny church on Gibson Island where my husband and I were married many years ago. A precious little church that only seated, I don't know, 30 people, 40 people at the most, maybe only 20, but tiny. Right smack on the Chesapeake Bay. It was just a beautiful little church. For years and years we lived in New Orleans, and this is commemorating the St. Charles Avenue streetcar. And it has been there for many years, and it's still going strong to this day. 1987, here was another great trip with Andrew and Jeffrey, my two sons, to Spain. We went all over Spain and even down to the Rock of Gibraltar, and then took a boat across the strait, I should say a ferry, across the Straits of Gibraltar to Morocco. That was fun. A Thanksgiving trip where my son Christopher, who was in the Navy, met me up in San Francisco, and we had a wonderful time. Then we moved to Sarasota one year, and that was our home for 14 years. I've lived in many places, but Sarasota was one of my favorite. Here is an African safari I took with my son Christopher to South Africa and Botswana, and actually Zambia too. And we had the time of our life. As everybody knows, I love Africa, and so does my son. We were in seventh heaven. That's the only way to put it. Then in 1988, I took my daughter to Rome and Zurich for Christmas. We even had the treat of spending our Christmas Eve at the Vatican when Pope John Paul II was still the Pope. And he was such a kind soul. He smiled and waved to us as he walked down the aisle, and I swear we were close enough we could have reached out and touched him. That was very fortunate that I was able to get those kind of tickets. Whoops, I'm going backwards here, it looks like. This is a trip my husband and I took on the QE2 in 2003. Oh, that was a magical journey. It was a transatlantic trip from New York to Southampton, England. And on the way, we played paddle tennis. We met great friends. We saw a whale spouting off. It was absolute slice of heaven. Those 6 days went by way too fast. Then, of course, my kids are younger. We lived in Princeton, New Jersey. Go Tigers! Go Princeton Tigers! That was the home of their grandparents, too. Their maternal grandparents, my parents. Pageant Farm on Martha's Vineyard. Oh, what a special place that was to us. Every summer in the 80s, I'd take my kids up there to my roommate from college's farm. Actually, it belongs to her husband's family. And we had the most magical vacations there. I could go on and on about Martha's Vineyard and Pageant Farm. It was the best. Whoops, what is going on here? Pinehurst playing golf one year. That was good. I took my two youngest sons to San Diego, and here's a needlepoint stocking I made for them. One of our favorite things to do is the Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, California. It is an amazing festival. If you have never been, you should go. It's one of the most interesting and unique experiences. It's amazing. Mystic, Connecticut was one of the first places that I went on a date with my husband. Jebba Needlepoint in Corona del Mar, California was where I bought so many of the needlepoint designs I stitched over the years. Venice. Now, when I took my granddaughter Lily to Italy for Christmas a couple of years ago, I made her an ornament for every stop along the way, and here's the one I made for Venice. Here's the one for Rome, and here's the one for Florence, all to commemorate an absolutely spectacular trip. Would you believe it never rained one day we were there in the whole 2 weeks we were in Italy? Not a single drop of rain in December. That was some kind of a miracle. Here was an anniversary trip to Paris that my husband and I took in 2013. Oh, magical, wonderful, special, romantic, everything. I love that trip. Hawaii. I took my family to Hawaii in 1986, and so this was the ornament to remember that trip by. Oh, had to have a Goodyear blimp. My son Christopher and I went and saw that Goodyear blimp in Carson, California on one of our trips there. Here's Edgar Town. Of course, that's where Pahaganut Farm is on Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. We love Edgar Town. We love the vineyard. Another picture of the vineyard. Del Coronado. I took my kids there every summer for 3 or 4 summers, and they absolutely loved the Del Coronado Hotel, and so did I. This was an ornament for my 50th birthday. And here's another one of me and a friend when we did some modeling for Vogue. The pictures never made it into Vogue, but we tried anyway. Jackson Hole, where we spent many a fabulous summer. A cowboy boot. Botswana. That was the trip, again, that I just absolutely loved with my son. Christopher and I went to on a lot of trips as a result of him being in the Navy, but this was the ornament I made when he joined the Navy and traveled the world. And this is when Christopher and Marini got engaged. Little heart dropping from the bottom. This is the Charlotte Inn in Edgar Town, which is a favorite spot on Martha's Vineyard. This is a trip I took with my daughter on one of her business trips to San Diego. We had the best time, and there's a music box inside of this particular ornament. And just an ornament for a trip. I don't even remember this one. Well, and here's Laura Chifena, where I went with my husband on we went on a cruise and we went all over the Mediterranean, but one of our favorite stops was in the medieval town of Laura Chifena in Tuscany, Italy. This is a toucan bird I made after our absolutely amazing trip to Argentina. My favorite spot. How I love to watch the tango. What an amazing dance. What a sexy dance. Here's another picture of it. Gosh, I don't know. I guess this is a duplicate of our African safari. Sorry about that. So I guess that comes to the end of this group of needle points I did to commemorate some of our special trips I took alone and some I took with my family. And each one we can think about when these ornaments are hung on the tree each and every year. And I get such a kick out of every time I take the tissue paper off and hang them on the tree, because there's so many fabulous memories wrapped up in every one of these needlepoint ornaments.